Well, I've been waiting in the Tribune's office for a while now. He doesn't seem to be showing up, so we might as well start. On this channel, we discuss the factions that build, craft, and engineer the worlds we explore in our games, movies, and stories. Today, we're exploring the history and technological achievements of the Charr, a people bred for war. They have a rich history of technological innovation and cunning architecture. As a warning, the following video does contain spoilers of the stories of Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. Alright, let's get into it. The Charr have spent much of their history at war with the world of Tyria in one way or another. Known for their ferocity in battle, their logistical cunning, and their ruthless tactics, the Charr raise their cubs with a thirst for hunting and combat, then send them away to be honed into well-drilled soldiers. They join a legion, gather a warband, and don't often defy the orders of their leaders. They're honed into weapons and set loose on their enemies, fiercely defending their territory and moving to expand their borders. In recent centuries, the world's changed, and the Charr have been forced to change with it. No longer at war against those with whom they must share the world, they've had time to grow as a civilization and develop their culture into something more than a weapon to be forged in adversity and tested in battle. They have, albeit reluctantly, joined the growing community of Tyria, not as enemies, but as friends, bringing their capabilities as warriors and their intelligence and technology to the aid of their new allies. There have been holdouts and bumps on the road to lasting peace, but slowly, step by step, the Charr continue to show that they're willing to be part of moving toward a world where all beings can be treated with respect. Charr warriors lead from the front, and this is no less true in the troubles faced by the people of Tyria in recent decades, with the changes wrought upon the dragon cycle and the rise of more powerful enemies. They've bent not only their prodigious military might to help keep Tyria safe, but they've used their considerable knowledge of technology to create war machines and vehicles, as well as structures and defenses that have held fast against some of the strongest enemies the heroes of Tyria have faced. From massive guns and tanks to the airships that transport warriors and material to distant lands. From their mighty Black Citadel to the towers and bulwarks of Camp Resolve in the Silver Wastes. Without their ingenuity, the Pact would have fallen long ago, and the world would lie in ruins. They're hardy, strong, and cunning, and for that, they have their training and culture to thank. Without the Charr building and fighting among their ranks, the free people of Tyria would have lost some of their greatest battles. Charr start their journey in the world as cubs. Cubs are born fully furred, they're hardy and independent even then. Within a short time, they're capable of moving independently and can follow their parents through the wilds. Charr are carnivorous, they've always been hunters, but their military culture and strict adherence to discipline and doctrine mean that their food supply can't rely on individuals but on large-scale agriculture and production to feed their armies. Charr territory is filled with farms and storehouses and dotted with villages whose function is to process and supply meat for the legions. Charr possess 2 pairs of ears, each pair is able to hear in different frequency ranges. They have elongated muzzles, and the patterns on their fur are adapted for camouflage and hunting, as with most large cats. Their hands sport sharp claws, which can be used to fight and defend themselves, and they have a set of horns, which can vary in size and shape. Their horns must once have been useful in combat, though it's rare that they be used this way today. There must certainly be some social status attached to horn size among individuals, though it's not a prevalent theme in Charr culture. Once a Charr cub has reached 1 year old, they'll be sent to the Farar, or Krish. This is a military academy where they're taught to live, work, and fight together. The Farar is chosen for them, and it usually is the school belonging to the legion in which one of their parents serves. While Charr parents traditionally have little to do with a cub once they've left for the Farar, some don't so easily let go of their familial bonds. Charr cubs in the Farar have to join a warband, a group of usually 5 or more members who fight and serve together. The warband is an important aspect of Charr culture, and loyalty to a warband is among their most revered values. Young Charr choose their new names based on the warband they've joined. The warband itself earns a name when its members graduate the Farar. Each warband fights for the legion at whose Farar it was formed. Charr are expected to be loyal to the legion before the warband, though this is not always the case. The members of a warband are very close-knit and protect and honor one another. A warband and its cubs can graduate after around 14 years of training, though if they don't meet the expectations of their instructors, they may remain in the Farar as long as it takes to make them ready. The Charr have built a military of incredible size and strength. They value honor and leadership, strength and cunning. The thing that makes them most deadly to their enemies, though, is their unity, when the legions march to war. The history of the Charr places their origin somewhere in the Blaze Ridge Mountains, east of the Iron Marches across what is now an area of Branskar. They were, at that time, divided into warring bands. The bands were united by the Khan-Ur, a title taken by a Charr whose name is not recorded. The coming of the Khan-Ur began a period of growth for the new Charr Empire, territorial and aggressively expansionist as most young empires are. In time, the Khan-Ur died, and in his wake came conflict among the Charr. It was at this time that the High Legions were formed. Charr society is governed by a military hierarchy beginning with the Khan-Ur at the top. While Charr can achieve promotions in rank based on their loyalty, honor, and actions, There's only ever been one true Cunning. Ranks in the Charr society are as follows. Cunning, the supreme ruler of the Charr. There's officially only been one Cunning. The imperators are the leaders of a legion. They're the highest achievable rank in Charr society under normal circumstances and have authority to judge and sentence prisoners. The tribunes act as generals. They're given command over operations in a given territory. Each centurion leads a company made up of warbands. A primus centurion may be given responsibility for coordinating the efforts of a number of centurions. Legionnaires are the leaders of individual warbands. Lieutenants and soldiers report to legionnaires and are responsible for coordinating efforts with a warband. Charr who have lost their warband are considered gladia. A gladium is the lowest rank in Charr society. They're not considered to be within the chain of command. Some may try to prove themselves and join a new warband. Others may seek a life outside the legions. They can come together to form new warbands, and some may act as free agents working discreetly for the legions in some way. The division of the Charr Empire into legions has led to some specialization, as each has had to fulfill a role that the others could not provide. These divisions have created unique traditions among the legions and a division of labor within Charr society. The Blood Legion march their soldiers into battle, training the infantry and leading the legions in traditional combat and methods of warfare. The Ash Legion are trained in espionage and deception. They're spy masters and assassins. The Flame Legion are mages and mystics. They're zealous and deal in powers now considered taboo. The Iron Legion practice a doctrine of using overwhelming force and the power of technology to beat their enemies. Their engineers build and field tanks and guns and build strong defenses. In the wake of the betrayal of peace by Bengar Ruinbringer and his attempt to seize power, 3 other legions were formed. The Dominion Legion was made up of Blood Legion members loyal to Bengar and his ideals. The Frost Legion grew from this movement as Icebrood magic corrupted the Dominion soldiers. Lastly, the United Legions is a force composed of Ash, Iron, Flame, and Blood Legion soldiers to oppose the Dominion. The 4 High Legions still exist, and they've adapted to a changing world, but their histories go back into the mists of time when Tyria was a very different place. In the time when the Charr were ruled by the Cunning, their united forces fought to expand their empire. Their enemies were the humans living in Ascalon and the surrounding regions. When the Cunning died and the empire was divided, they were no longer the stronger force, and as they lost battle after battle against the humans, they began to lay the blame at the feet of the old gods. When the enemies of the old gods offered their power to the mages of the Flame Legions to strengthen the Charr and to give them victory, they didn't resist. With the newfound power, the Flame Legion became the leaders of the Charr, and their mages wielded power and influence over all of Charr society. It was with this new power that the Empire, despite furious resistance, caused an event known in the history of Tyria as the Searing, caused by the use of magic and a pact with ancient beings. Fire rained down on the lands of Ascalon and the surrounding regions, affecting areas as far west as portions of the Shiver Peaks. The huge wall erected by the humans to stop incursions by the Charr was broken, allowing the legions to cross into human territory. The humans resisted, and the Charr did not have an easy time of it, but they came to call Ascalon their own, and the humans were pushed out. The ruins of the wall stand today amid the conquered lands now the territory of the Charr. It is home to the ghosts of the human king and his warriors who, even in death, attempt to defend the place that was once their home. The beings that had given the Flame Legion their powers were overthrown, and the Legion's leaders sought new patrons and sources of magic. They found what they were looking for in the minions of the Dragon Primordus. This deal would be short-lived as the creatures were defeated and the Flame Legion's power broken again. The Flame Legion's deceit and zealotry took a toll on Charr society, and in time, they were banished by the other 3 legions. The magics they had wielded were outlawed as dark sorcery, and their reputation for treachery, xenophobia, and tyranny has made their members pariahs in Charr society. Since that time, new leadership has taken over, and much of the old ways of the Legion have been cut away. Their mystic traditions remain today, and they're making an effort to repair their reputation and make peace with the other legions. Some holdouts and adherents to the old ways remain, but the Charr are quick to put down uprisings and invasions. During the war in Ascalon, the Charr were not alone in their use of magic. The humans, seeing their defenses fall into ruin and the ravenous legions spreading destruction across their land, cast the Faux Fire. This magic put an end to the war, but destroyed the remaining bastions of Ascalon City. When it spread out like a white fire, the remaining human defenders were killed and rose again as incorporeal beings known as Faux Fire ghosts. The ghosts of the Ascalonians affected by the Faux Fire still fight on to this day, defending what was once their home. The history of the relations between the humans and the Charr is a story of bloody wars and hatred. Times have changed, however, and while old grudges may never be forgotten, old hatred's being put aside in favor of a new age. One human settlement has remained in the southern reaches of Ascalon. Constantly assailed by enemies, it's held firm against the legions for generations. The city of Ebonhawk is no longer a major target of Charr attack. The legions have deemed it worth little effort. Separatists, angry at the former enemies of humankind and seeking to continue the war, cause trouble, but they inevitably fail to gain much ground. Indeed, it's a time of peace between human and Char, albeit a fragile peace. The Treaty of Ebonhawk was drafted outlining terms for both races and to the benefit of all. Despite some bumps on the road, the treaty was signed and ratified at Summit Peak. Humans and Char are officially at peace. Some anger remains beneath the surface, of course, and will for generations, but the foundations for a new and lasting peace have been laid. Now, the Char invite members of all races to their lands for celebrations, and they fight side by side against the dragons. The old hatreds, not forgotten, are slowly being chipped away. The fight against Zaitan, Krakatork, and so many others would have been made in vain if not for Char and their courage, and their machines. Char architecture is immediately recognizable. They build towering structures and fortifications from metal and stone. Replete with spiked battlements and crenellations, their cities and outposts appear strong and imposing. Their walls are topped with layered defenses and massive guns protrude to warn off would-be attackers. Sharp, curving armored plates surround edifices of snarling faces, and braziers and hearths of blazing fire are kept lit. Command structures sit high up behind fortified and well-defended bulwarks, and from behind huge windows, like ever-watching eyes, the Imperators look out and survey their territory. The Char are masters in the craft of building machines. Their defenses aren't all static walls and high gates. Turrets swivel on massive tracks, and their gears are machined with precision. The Char have been developing the use of fire and pressure to send projectiles farther and with more power for centuries, and while they're not the only ones who make use of these principles, they're the foremost authority on big guns and siege weapons. Their mastery of fire and steel have decided many battles in their favor, but a true tactician knows that power is not the only route to victory. A master of the battlefield has to adapt, and in that area, mobility is king. The Char have advanced the design and maintenance of engines and vehicles through experimentation and research. In both victory and defeat, they've refined their machines, and the engineers of the Iron Legions proudly display their expertise at siege warfare. Their battle tanks can cross the toughest terrain and have been instrumental in fending off the undead hordes during the battle against the dragon Zaitan. Their massive mobile siege engines created openings for the forces of the Pact in the vine walls around Maguma, allowing the Alliance forces to eventually defeat Mordremoth. Many such engines have broken the defenses of enemies thought invincible and won battles thought unwinnable. The Char are masters of the land, yes, but they've also turned their eyes to the sky. The engineers of the Char have devised machines that use spinning blades to create lift. These are the infamous Char helicopters. They're generally small in size, but can transport a group of soldiers across a battlefield quicker and more safely than they could by passing through enemy territory on foot. They've been used to great effect in bypassing the defenses of the Mordrim before the defeat of Mordremoth. They also provide a way to move supplies to war zones when moving them overland would be dangerous. Char copters have also been used as transportation over long distances much more quickly when Asur gates and waypoints are not an option. Famously, the members of the Pact were flown from the Black Citadel to Grothmar Valley when the Blood Legion homelands were opened up to outsiders. They also allowed travel to the distant Eye of the North, a famously difficult place to reach. And finally, Char technology gave us the very first airships. A technology which, shared with the rest of Tyria, has become so ubiquitous that they can be seen docked at Lion's Arch and Fort Trinity. Airships have been used not only to transport warriors and supplies from place to place, they've been instrumental in winning battle after battle. Fitted with guns and other weapon systems, they and their crews can master the skies and defeat armies of dragons and their minions. The combination of airships and Asur guns, along with the courage of the Pact, defeated the dragon Zaitan. They fought Mordremoth, and along with some other weapons and technology, were instrumental in forging a path through the jungles. They opened travel south into the Crystal Desert when Balthazar threatened the world. And among the growing list of achievements, they opened the way to Kantha, albeit at the hands of Aetherblade pirates. Without the Char's culture of constant innovation and development of technology, Tyria would have been overrun with destroyers and dragon meetings of all kinds. While Char culture prizes military duty, loyalty, and honor in battle above most other values, it's of course true that within their population, a much richer culture exists. They're not just defined by their ferocity and intelligence, they love good food, good friends, and good music. Now, many holidays are celebrated across Tyria, but one in particular is held in great esteem by the Char. I'm talking, of course, about Meatoberfest. Held in the town of Butcher's Block and supplied by the local farms, Meatoberfest celebrates meat, basically. Visitors to Butcher's Block can expect feasting and drinking, but that's mostly it. But if you love good meat and good drink, head over and have fun. Char music is pretty heavy. For an example, check out the Metal Legion. Amid the belching smokestacks and towering hillsides of Bloodstand Stage in Grothmar Valley, the Metal Legion regularly holds concerts. They're a band made up of 6 members, and they use the advancements in Char tech to put on a show. When the sun goes down, climb the mountain path, follow the beams of light, and you'll hear them playing. The music's epic, and sometimes things can get dangerous in the pit. Something that Char don't share with wider Tyria, and possibly because of their own history with the Flame Legion and the Foe-Fire, is a distrust for magic. It's widely viewed with skepticism and apprehension. In part, this seems to be due to a preference for personal physical strength, intelligence, and ingenuity. Using magic might seem to an outsider like a shortcut, though anyone who can control the might and powers of the world knows this isn't the case. That said, there are some prominent Char mages and sorcerers. They're no less important in Char society, though there's a stigma hanging over their work. Overall, the strength of anti-magic sentiment will vary from Char to Char. Char culture may seem shallow to outsiders who don't grow up within it, but it's much more than fighting, drinking, and feasting. Those are pretty important, though. With the opening of Char territory to new visitors and the formation of the guilds against greater enemies, people of other races have the chance to experience it for themselves. It's from these cultural traditions that we get some of the technology that's made our world the way it is, and of course, some of our greatest heroes. Those who fought alongside us as we waged war to keep Tyria safe. Ritlock Brimstone is a tribune of the Blood Legion. Before then, he'd crossed paths with the legendary guild Destiny's Edge and decided to join them. In an attempt to reverse the Foe-Fire curse, he was sent through a portal of his own making and disappeared. Sometime later, he returned to the world with newfound powers, which he used to save the Pact Commander and their allies during the battle against Mordramoth. Since then, he's gone on to fight alongside his allies in too many battles to mention. He retains his high position among the Char, as well as his heroic reputation. Cretia Stoneglow had been a tribune of the Blood Legion under Imperator Bengar Ruinbringer. When Bengar first rallied against the Pact and sought to empower himself, she followed, thinking that he had noble intentions. As she saw his true purpose, however, she joined forces with the commander and his allies to hunt down Bengar. Once Bengar's plans were foiled, it was Cretia who took the position of Imperator of the Blood Legion. Almora Soulkeeper had been a founding member of the Vigil and was aiding the Pact by sending them reinforcements during the time when they were fighting Zaitan. She had fought for a long time with the Vigil to keep Tyria safe, and in her position of commander, directed Vigil forces in some of the heaviest combat through the years. She was cruelly betrayed and murdered in the Biora marches. Her legacy lives on through her friends and the good she did to protect the world. Tybalt Leftpaw was a Lightbringer of the Order of Whispers. Disguised as a humble apple seller, he was a tutor for new recruits. He would go on to serve, training many of the Order's new members and making friends along the way. He nobly sacrificed himself at the Battle of Claw Island, remaining behind to give his apprentice and his companions time to get to safety. He didn't know it at the time, but his sacrifice may have saved all of Tyria from destruction, as those who survived went on to fight Zaitan and his minions. Rox is a Gladium. Though she worked as a free agent for the Legions, she joined the Dragon's Watch Guild, helping to keep Tyria safe from dragons and their minions. She was instrumental in tracking down Destiny's Edge through the jungles, helping to save them from Mordramoth, and she helped to defeat many enemies of the world along with the commander and their allies. She has since left the guild and joined the Olmakan, a tribe of Char separate from the Legions, who reside on the Sandswept Isles. I seem to have found an Ash Legion spy lurking in the shadows. Well, that's the Char, the most inventive engineers and warriors in all of Tyria. Just make sure you're standing behind their guns and not in front of them. Thanks for making it this far. I appreciate everyone who watches. So if you liked the video, please hit like. And if you want to see more, please hit subscribe. It really does help the channel. And if there's anything you'd like to add or discuss, hit up the comments below. Let me know what your favorite Legion is. Oh, and before you go, I'd like to shout out my patrons who help support the channel. Our $10 patron is Wasuki at the Artisan level. If you want to get your name in the credits, head on over and sign up. The Patreon link is in the description. You'll get access to an exclusive Discord as well. Thanks again. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.